How's it going? This is Chris with the Zipper Podcast, and today we have Cara Schroter, who is the founder of the CS Fit Pilates, which is a three-location Pilates studio out of New Jersey. Cara, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. So I don't want to ruin anything, so I'm just going to kick it off to you. I'd love to just hear a bit about your background. I believe you opened up your studios during COVID or right after COVID. So cool story there, going from teaching, I think like Lifetime or something,
Yeah.
to becoming an entrepreneur, and things seem to be going very well. So I'll hand it off to you. Just love to just hear your story, and I'm sure I'll have some questions to ask as you're telling it.
Okay. Yeah. So it started during COVID. I was at Lifetime. Things shut down. They told us 2 week shutdown. I was one of those people that actually thought it was going to be 2 weeks. So I had a bunch of clients that I trained daily between personal training and Pilates. And I was like, these people are going to lose 2 weeks of time. I have to keep this going. Like, I don't want them to come back to the gym and be deconditioned. So the next day we started on Zoom and I just kept going like 5 days a week. And then it turned to 6 and 7. And I had like a packed Zoom schedule. So I was kind of working during COVID, but not like as the goal to start a business, but literally just like this is the bridge from now to when the gym opens up. It was never the plan to be like, I'm going to open up a studio. It was like, I just need to keep these people going. It really was the motivation for me was my clients and to kind of just stay connected with them and to keep them healthy during like a time like this. So that's kind of how it started. And then I finally got one small studio space in a year later. It was March of 2021, the smallest studio space in the middle of an industrial park. The rent was $600 a month because I was like, okay, I can make this in like 2 days and like get some revenue out of it. So it was like a very small starting point. I bought a reformer off of Marketplace. I bought two towers off of Marketplace, figuring I could do a duet session if I wanted to. And then that one reformer grew to five. And it was just, I feel like it's still kind of like an in between thing. Like I'm still like, oh, I'm gonna go back to Lifetime now. Like it still, I don't think has clicked to me that this is happening. Like it's just, I feel like because I've just been in the midst of building, building, building. It's like you don't take the moment to like sit back and be like, what just happened, you know?
So it was very, very serendipitous, I guess, to getting that first location opened. So tell me
Yeah.
about that process of finding the first location. What were some things you looked for? Did you like
hmm
find a realtor? Like, how did that work going from teaching on Zoom to find that first location?
Yeah. So for me, I have two little girls, and they did gymnastics right in Mawa. And for me, it was so important for my location to be by their gymnastics studio because when they started going back in for sessions, I was like, okay, I can kind of piggyback off. Like when I drop them off, I can go and work. The spot I got actually had like a small office room that I kind of set up for them. So like I could work if they had like Zoom school home that day, they were able to kind of work in the other room as I was teaching. So that was like, that determined my location. I was like, I got to be by gymnastics. Like, that's it. And it just happened to be in the middle of my house. And a lot of my clients were around that Montvale, northern New Jersey. So it was kind of in between, which was great because it was like 12 minutes each way for both of us. So that was great. So, and my aunt was a realtor, so that was an easy process. No one was really looking to get an office space during that time because everyone was very much working from home. So I think that's how we kind of landed on this. It was a great deal. I was like, that was the only way I was doing it. I was like, I wanted to go into it knowing it was going to be fine and I didn't want to fail. And it was like a very nerve-wracking thing to even take on like a monthly rent. So I just had to make sure it was a very low monthly rent. Yeah.
Wow, cool. And so you found the location and you started just off with you got some equipment off of Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And um, how did you like hire anybody to like build the interior design of it, or just kind of did your own thing? How did that process work?
Well, I went to school for interior design.
Oh, there you go.
But
Finally, yeah,
like, I did. I worked like, in the city. I did the New York thing.
sweet.
But you know what? It was like, for me, it was so not about that. Like it was really just like I knew I wanted like good equipment. I wanted peak Pilates equipment. So when I found that off a marketplace, I just knew I needed like a clean open space. Like again, I was like I said, super nerve-wracking, did not want to put a dime extra into this. Like my job was just to go in there, use it as a studio, make sure it was like safe and clean and all that good stuff for my clients. So as far as the build out and stuff like that, we just like painted the walls. I threw down like one of those pergo floors on top of the rug and I called it a day.
Nice.
Yeah,
Simple. So,
totally. Yeah.
okay, cool. And
Yeah.
so you had the one, and then when did you start to grow it out? Like, at what point did you feel as though you're getting enough momentum to start adding more reformers, investing some more money into the space? How did that process look?
Yeah. So when we started, it was still very much like COVID spiked, COVID went down. It spiked, it went down. So like I remember we had the 5 reformers and then it popped back up again. So I actually took the 1 reformer, pushed it against the wall, like closed that one down. And then we had just the 4. And I was very strategic who I put in class together because obviously some people were like super, super, hyper of like, oh my God, where have you been? Where did you go? Did you go? Like very much like that, where other people were like, it's fine. So it was like very much that kind of process. So when I was busy, I'm like, but am I busy or is it just because I now have to have multiple classes to kind of accommodate the needs of all these people? And, now I'm down to 4 reformers, but then what happens is you start having wait lists. You can't get the people in, which totally drove my anxiety through the roof because I'm like a people pleaser and I'm like, I can't get these people in. So then you just start doing more and more classes. And honestly, I really wasn't even planning on opening up a second studio. It was actually my husband that we did our year of taxes and he saw what it did and he's like, we need to duplicate this. And I was like, but you can't duplicate me. So how are we duplicating this? Like it's by no means a passive income type of thing. Like I need to be there in order for this to work. So we kind of sat down, crunched the numbers, figured out like, okay, we could do this if this happens and this happens. And I found, yeah, I knew Nicole for a while. I think since 2014ish. She's the manager at Allendale, and I remember I said to my husband's name's Nick. I was like, if Nicole says yes, I'm in. If she says no, I'm out. We're gonna just keep doing this, and it's just gonna be a nice little side thing I got going on, which was like totally full time. But in my head, I still told myself it was a side hustle, and it was fine. It's like I didn't want to commit to the seriousness of it. And yeah, she said yes, and we did it. And it really was just the volume of people, and it was all word of mouth. Like, and I think it's because we had this small studio space, and people felt safe coming in there. Like they knew. I knew everyone coming in there. I knew their lifestyle. I knew where they went. Like I'm a very like personable person with my people. Like I know you. I know your schedule when you come in. You're not just like Joe from down the street. So I think people really appreciated that.
So it sounds like community has been really, really important. Do you do anything to harbor community? Do you do like events outside of classes or like do
Yeah.
anything to get people to build those relationships who might not know each other?
Yeah, I mean, well, not, I mean, we keep talking like we need like a field day outside with everyone. As far as community goes, now that we're like kind of established with the second location, we are giving back to the community where I have instructors now that are going through the teacher training process and we're doing community classes. So we offer those classes completely free to our people. So that way our new instructors can get involved, get their hours, and then we're kind of giving back to the people that have been so awesome to us. So, but as far as like events outside with like partying and drinking and all that stuff, no, we haven't done anything like that yet.
Not yet. Soon enough.
No.
Yeah, amazing, cool. I don't
Yeah.
know what the little thumbs up
I
thing
don't
is,
know
but sometimes it
either.
happens. I don't know. I think it's a Mac thing, so it's
I
all
know.
good.
I totally got sidetracked there. Yeah.
um, cool. So that sounds really really interesting, and I know that we talked a little bit about you teach instructors on how to be good instructors. What what do you think separates good Pilates instructors from maybe average or not so great Pilates instructors? And if someone is maybe an instructor today or wants to get into it, like what should they think about to become really, really good?
Such a good question because I feel like now with Pilates being so popular, like when I started, it wasn't so popular. But now I feel like there's so many ways that someone can go about it. And the biggest thing I think that separates in a great one from a not so great one. I've never experienced a not so great one, so it's terrible to say, but personality for sure. I feel like you need to really connect with the person you're teaching and who you're teaching to. So you're not just going in there and teaching like a blanket class or a cookie cutter class that's like all size fit all. I think you really need to go in there knowing like, okay, these are the people that I'm teaching. This is what they all need. Go in there with some kind of theme so they know like why they're doing certain things. I think the more you can educate what they should be getting out of it, the more that they will get out of it. So I think that's huge. The other thing, and my younger self would hate this answer, but experience. And I never valued that until I've been in this for so long. And just recently, I did my advanced cert with Peak, like last this past April. Like I literally just finished the full blown bridge with Peak. And just to go through that, I grew so much as an instructor now, and I've been teaching since 2008. So it's just, there's so much room to grow. So I think like if you kind of keep that mindset as an instructor, like you're not going to know everything. Sally down the street is going to have a different technique as you. Find what makes you great and different and stick to it, and don't change to try to mimic anyone else, that because you're going to get that all the time. Someone's going to come in and be like, oh, I went to so and so and they do it this way and that way. And you could so easily be swayed in all these different directions. But I think if you find why you started here and what you love most about Pilates and why you're doing it, and you stick with that, no one can take that away from you. And that's really what separates you from anyone else.
Mm. So it sounds like you had tons of experience before actually going on your own. I've heard different answers on this around just jump in and head first and go open a studio, or like you need to get some experience. If you go back, would you have jumped in head first, or are you glad that you got those years of experience prior to starting your own business?
Okay, so Chris, I don't think you know this, which is so funny. You just asked me this. I opened up my first studio like 2009, and it
Oh,
didn't
okay.
go well.
Okay. All right. Didn't know that.
um, yeah, and I was certified in 2008, so I did not have a brand for myself. My name was not around. I had a lot to learn. Granted, it was like more of a mat-based studio. I did MVE chair, which is like a peak Pilates style chair class. I had a ball with it. It was fun. It was great, but I I didn't know enough. My rent was too high. My experience was too low. I didn't understand what it meant to run a business. There was so many things that I learned from that. Um, but yeah, but to be totally honest, I don't, I'm not saying don't do it if you have the will to do it. But at the same time, like if you have a name for yourself and you have clients and you know that, hey, I have a really great foundation to start this with, you're going to be pretty good. Like compared to not having any clients and just like throwing things at the wall, see what sticks. It's a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I was living at home, thankfully. I was like around 25 years old when I did it, but like looking back on it, I mean, my brother-in-law and I used to joke around like you should start a program where you go town to town and coach people on why not to open a business.
There you
So,
go.
so
Could be
that's like
business.
this whole thing was like, it was so like, Cara, what are you doing? You swore off ever doing this again. And that's why I tiptoed into it. And I kind of knew the difference and how to handle this. I mean, at Lifetime, I ran that Pilates studio and they really coached you on how to run it, like what the dollar amount on every reformer is, how not to leave money on the table. Like you really have to be a business minded person to run it. And as much as it sounds cute and cool to run a Pilates studio, like it's so much more than that. It is so much more than that. Yeah.
What is the biggest mistake you made when you opened that studio in 2009?
The rent was ridiculous. It
It's
was,
just too
oh
much
my
cost.
God, so high, so high, so high. It was ridiculous. And I did also do an unlimited membership, which I like to call that the kiss of death in Pilates. No.
No. Okay. All right.
You can't project your business. It's absolutely impossible. You can't project it. It's not, you don't know if someone has an unlimited, if they're coming in 1 day a week, 2 times a week. They say on average, it's like 3 times a week and you come out on top, but you don't know that. I know some studios that offer that and people are there 7 days a week. That's a loss. You're not making any money off of that. So it's just, yes. And still now I get people, can you do an unlimited membership? I'm like, no, unless I'm going to give my landlord the notice the same day that I'm closing. Like, I won't do it. Like, it's just,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, it's a totally different business model. I only take 6 people in at max. So if you have 20 spots to fill, you could do an unlimited membership. You have 20 people coming in, and then you can kind of do the math a little better. But like when you only have 6 reformers, how are you supposed to figure out in order to pay your instructor in a good way and still come out on top with revenue? It's literally like impossible to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So you only do class passes or like packs.
I do, well, we do monthly memberships, but we do if you're coming once a week, twice a week, three
Got it.
times a
This
week.
one.
It's based on that. And then I do a 10 class pack that lasts for 3 months, and I do drop-ins.
Mhm.
So yeah, we try to
Okay.
keep it as simple as possible. And we don't do sales. I never do sales because I created these prices there's like a reason why behind it. And if I'm paying my instructors at a certain rate, because I have great instructors, and if you're going to value those great instructors, there's a certain base rate you have to start them at. So it's all because of that. So I'll never do a sale. I don't do that. And I think it devalues the talent. I do. I think it devalues it.
Interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know something that's pretty cool that you do as well is you stick to small 6-person classes, which you mentioned.
Yep.
How come you haven't opened that up to be larger? Is there a specific reason that you keep it to 6 clients?
Yeah. It is hard enough to find 6 people that all move the same, that all have the same issues, that don't have the
Okay.
same issues, that have the same experience in Pilates, that there's so many different scenarios that you get, right? So, and with our small group, we can micromanage. So, like I said, I like to really know everyone. I truly mean that. I have notes on every single client that walks in that door. So I know if they have a herniation, if they were a dancer, if they play pickleball, if they had a shoulder issue, like it's all in there. So when I go to teach, and any of my instructors that teach, we go through every client in that class. We like to try to keep the same clients together in every class so we can progress them. And then on top of it, it really forms this camaraderie with the group. And then, you get a text message if you don't show up. Hey, why weren't you there? Not from me, from someone in your class that's used to seeing you. So it forms this really great community and accountability when you're with the same people. But that's why I really will only do 6, because it's really hard to find 6 people that move exactly the same. And if I'm giving them a classical experience, right, like the order that Joseph Pilates did, I want to try to progress these people and give them that. And on top of it, when you start doing these other, exercises in level 2, level 3, you need spots. I can't spot 12 people, and I want to be able to spot the people that are in front of me. So it's really just to get a better experience.
Pretty cool. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like allowing the personalization.
Yes,
6 is kind of the cap to be able to do that.
totally. And 6 is even a lot. I'll have moments in class where I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna break this down. Like I'll break it down, and I'll joke with them. I'm like, I need to spot. You're gonna kind of hang with me here, or whatever it is. But they appreciate it, and then they get to do all this really awesome stuff that, like, if you were in a room with 12, 15, 16 reformers, you can't do that stuff. It's not a knock on any of those businesses. You just literally can't do it. Like, someone will get hurt.
Mhm.
So
Right, it's a dog. Um, cool. Very cool. So now you're opening your 3rd location. Can you tell me a little bit about that process and how you're going from 2 to 3, and any
yeah.
pieces of advice you might have for other folks who are expanding?
Yeah, so it's kind of the same scenario again. Like when I went from 1 to 2, I knew I had a certain amount of people that I needed to house, right? So that's why we did the second location. In that location, we added a couple more instructors, and instructors I've known for a while. So I know the instructors very well. And then it's kind of the same thing that's happening again. So we're growing, and so now I know I have a certain group of people in a certain location, and I already know they're going to Hohokus. So then I know that the classes that have been like waitlisted in Wyckoff, I can now bring more people in, or in Allendale, I can now bring more people in, and then that way, um, that one location, Ridgewood people, will go to Hohokus. So it's kind of the same thing. And I think as long as you kind of know, like, okay, I have these people to kick that off and I can start that there and I can open this up for XYZ to come in here, it's like, it just makes sense. It's like, I feel like the formula that I have is so simple. It's not fancy. It's like, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, it's very just simple. And, it's just that moment of like, okay, we could do one more. I mean, this one, honestly, I would have three. I was like, oh my God, three, like I know. And my husband was like, no, it's the third one. It completes this triangle of this radius that he figured out. And it really does. It's because we're in Bergen County too. All three studios are in Bergen County. So people ask me that too, like, why? They're all 8 minutes apart almost. But if you take the radius of the outside circle, it hits a lot of Bergen County. And we're like a small, like you said, six reformers. There's not a lot of those studios around. There's just not. So I'm already getting, emails from old clients from, back when I was at Lifetime. And they're like, oh my God, I saw you're coming to Hohokus. Like, so I already am getting people in there without even officially being open. So, but it's just knowing that, okay, you're at a certain threshold. You need more reformers. I'll never put more than 6 in a spot. I know that. I'm very passionate about that piece. So the only way to grow more is to get another space. And again, reasonable rent is huge, right? Like, so I had to make sure, like, my studios are small. They're like 800 to 900 square feet. They're not like these big, and that includes like the storage room and the bathroom, like they're not big. The rent is small, and then I put the 6 reformers in. So it's just this formula that has been working for me. Yeah.
Sweet. So rinse and repeat. You have the
Yeah.
formula now. You just rinse and repeat it.
Yeah. Now I'm done
Cool.
though. I'm not doing any more.
When's number 4 coming?
No,
We're all waiting for
no.
it. Very cool. And then so obviously you have to have other instructors who you're managing. What's your process
Yeah.
been for hiring and any learnings that you've had from
It's
hiring folks?
so the really cool thing, and I really didn't even realize it. I was so, because of what's going on with Pilates in this Pilates world right now, and there's so many versions of it. They're all great in their own way, but I am definitely like a peak Pilates girl, like full on through, like have done plenty of certifications. I've never gotten a better experience than I have with peak Pilates. So I knew I really wanted to be a host studio for them. So we have a classical trainings at our studio. So now what's happening, right, is we're getting these instructors in. They're going through the certification. They're using our studio for hours and for practice and all this stuff. And then we're building relationships with these new instructors. And then they're looking for a place to work. So it's all really work because it gives me an opportunity to really get to know them, and it gives them an opportunity to get to know me without a working relationship. It's more of just like, hey, I'm going through this. Can you work with me on whatever it is? And then I'll help them and work with them. And, just to see how they are, like, are they responsible? Are they going in and they're doing their hours? Are they showing up to classes? Are they getting good feedback? So it's almost like a test run, like with these instructors. So it kind of turned into this really cool, almost internship program without it being an internship. And so because we've been getting more instructors through this way of doing it, it just made sense. And the instructors that we have actually reached out and they're looking for more. So it's like, okay, like we have the manpower to do this. So it's not like I'm not looking for instructors anymore. And the hiring is the hardest part, is finding a really good instructor. It really is so hard of finding a good instructor. But I do think personality is humongous, and they have to mesh with who you are and the clients that come in there. And, for me, my biggest thing is like, everyone is welcome. I want everyone to feel comfortable. There is no snootiness in my studio. Like, it's like, come in, be you. Like, we're here to all have the same common interest of Pilates. Like, that's it. Like, it's not, we're not trying to be Instagram influencers, like, I mean, hey, if we are, that's great, but we're not attempting to be those people. We're there doing Pilates. Someone said to me, they're like, you need to post more videos of yourself and doing this. And I don't have time to do that. I teach all day long. Like, I don't have time. So I think it's huge to find someone that has common values too.
That's cool. Yeah, you kind of, like you said, you get a test run, you get to see who you like, who you
Yeah.
jive with, and then
Yep.
free feeder program for instructors
Totally.
for you.
And they're going through the best education, in my opinion. It's a great education, so it's awesome.
Is there any, so I heard a few things that you mentioned to kind of differentiate yourself in the area. You really focus on having intimate personalized classes. You focus on, really just building community. Is there anything else that you found to be helpful in terms of like getting traction and continuing to grow the brand?
I and this is such a simple thing, like just be kind, be nice. I mean, I've heard, and I mean, go figure, like I've had clients come in and said, "Oh, I went to so and so and it was this, that, and the other thing." And I'm like, how? Like, just so I think it's just like, just be kind. And here's the thing, right? As an instructor, it's if you have things going on in your day, you have to leave it at the door. Like, you're there to almost like, you're like hosting a party. Like, you're there to host,
Sure.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, you're there to host. You're there for everyone to have a great experience. So like, just giving them the best experience and genuinely caring about them. And if they come in there and someone looks a little off, like, I'll say, like, everything good, you all right today? Like, just having relationships, I think, is so, I mean, at least that's what I've heard, is like, that's been, I think, a thing that has really separated us. And then the other thing that I do, I'm giving away a secret here, but I'll tell you, is if there's a wait list and there's people on the wait list, it bothers me to no end. So I'll actually reach out to everyone on the wait list. Every single time there's a wait list, I reach out to them with plan Bs. Like, hey, if you don't get in, how do you feel about this? Or, hey, if you don't get in, do you want to jump to this? Like, I always try to give options, and I just want them to know, like, hey, I see you. I know you're there. I'm really trying to work this out for you. And, these are some of the things we can offer. So I think it's just all those personalized touches that really make a difference, and it really makes people feel like they're valued. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I can
Yeah.
imagine if people are hearing from the owner saying, "Hey, how can I help you get into another class?" then that goes a really long
Yeah.
way in building trust and make them come back.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, I'm working for all these people. That's the way I look at it. Like, you'll hear like, "Oh, you're an owner, you must have like the coolest hours." And I'm like, "No, I have like 500 bosses. Like, I don't I don't
Yeah.
I like have no freedom, but it's the way, it's my choice, and I get that, and I understand that. And like I said, it's my own thing, but I'll never let go of that, because I know that's why I've gotten so far, because that's what I do. Like, I like to have a pulse on the business, and I like to know everyone that comes in that door. And it's getting to the point where I don't know everyone. So I have to call Nicole and I'm like, "Hey, tell me about this person. Who is this person? I don't know who this is." Like, I want to know everyone. I want to know who's coming in there. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, what did I miss? Any other piece of advice or learnings that you've had in your career in the fitness industry or becoming an entrepreneur and continuing to see your business grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best advice is just, you're gonna have to hit the pavement and run hard. Fitness is not like, you can't just do fitness. You can, but it's a dime a dozen, right? Like, there's a fitness place on every corner. So it's like, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna have to do it. And when I started, I was working 7 days a week. I never said no. Someone wanted to come in at 5 in the morning, sure. Someone wanted to come in at 8 p.m. at night, sure. I did it. I just did it. And I kept telling myself, like, eventually there will be a light at the end of this tunnel, and now is not the time where there's a light. And I feel still now I'm like pushing this humongous snowball up a hill. But I think it's just, if you're gonna do this in fitness, you have to be in the trenches with your people. You can't be looking on the, like, from the sidelines, be like, "I'm only going to teach 5 classes a week," or whatever. Like, you could, but I don't think you're going to go very far. I really don't. So I think it's like, you find what you love in this business, and remember that's why you're doing it, and that's what's going to be the motivation to keep you going. But it's a business you got to work at. It's not a business you can just, do a few hours here and there and hope for the best. It's definitely not one of those things.
Makes a ton of sense. It sounds like it's all about the relationships for the
Yes,
CS Fit Pilates. Yeah.
totally, totally. Yeah.
Cool. Well, where can folks find more information about you and about the studio?
Yeah. So we're on Instagram, the CS Fit. We have our website, www.thecsfit.com. Yeah, any of those places. And we do have like a community tab. We do some virtual stuff here and there, you'll see that if you're not in the Jersey area. But yeah, we offer first class free. And yeah, so we're kind of just on the social media platforms, but that's about it. But you will not see us really be doing any influencer type things. Maybe one
Not
day
yet. Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
get into that
Yeah.
area of things. But yeah, so
Um,
but yeah, it's fun.
Sweet. Okay. So, if you're in Bergen County and you want to do some Pilates, check out the CS Fit. Sounds like it's the spot to do it. So,
Yeah.
thanks so much for coming on, Cara. I appreciate it, and thanks for sharing your story. We'll
Thank
talk soon.
you. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.